Jones, what do you think you're doing?
What we always do, Smith. Break into his building.
What? Usually we're on police business, not just passing by like right now.
What difference does it make? Patches are just a hunk of metal that would inevitably get lost in this shuffle that we call the circle of life.
That's, are you are you quoting the Lion King now? What what are you doing?
Yes, we're in.
We can't go. What what is this place?
This this is the place where the magic happens. This is the studio where they record the Foxway podcast,
The what?
the best podcast on the planet.
Podcast? Oh, Jesus, Jones. We need to get out of here. We have no business being. What? Wait. What does it mean when the button is blinking red?
Uh, I think it means that the show is not on the air.
Good. Uh, let's get. What are you
Ca-
doing? Why are you sitting down now?
Come on, sit down, Smith. I'll interview you.
No, Jones, this is not our
Just
business.
sit down. You've always wanted to be on a podcast, right?
No, not really.
Please.
Jesus. All right, but just for a minute. I don't want someone walking in on this.
Hello, welcome to the Smith and Jones podcast. My name is Abraham Jones, and this is Kelly Smith.
What? Okay, I told you once during an emotional moment that you can call me by my first name, and now you're throwing it around on a podcast?
Shh! It's not even recording. Who cares? My guess is Smith, and I have a couple of questions for us. Actually, they're not even like questions to be exact. They're more like topics I
Just
wanted.
get to the point.
Oh, well, first of all, I'd like to start by saying that
Hear that?
yeah.
Who the?
Yep.
We need to
Oh, yep. What the? Wait, why is this recording? Huh. Almost like someone was here. Well, hello everybody. My name is Eddie Cole, and welcome to the Foxway podcast. Joined today by Tony Cole.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, you've already been once on the podcast, so we don't really need introductions. This week's podcast has a certain topic, and that topic is the Smith and Jones series that ended just maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks ago. So let's hear it from the man behind the show himself.
Yeah, Smith and Jones. Oh man. Well, first of all, I wanna kind of thank everybody for sitting through the entire month of January with Smith and Jones. I mean, this is like the most hectic schedule that we've been on. Like, we obviously filmed all the episodes last year, but I was just putting together the episodes as we went along with January, and yeah, it's been interesting. Like, January was our most active month so far throughout our whole YouTube careers, putting out the video every week. That was kind of crazy, and yeah, it's helped the channel. But to be honest, with the most, it's helped me because Smith and Jones was always something that I regretted that we had not done properly yet, because it always was a fantastic idea. You've seen the end result. It's uh, it's a fantastic show and just works with a great dynamic, and it would have been a real shame if nobody ever saw it. So I'm just really happy that everybody liked it as much as I thought they would, and just very happy that finally saw the light of day.
Okay. Now I have some topics in mind that I want
Or you
to.
have?
Yeah, of course. I always have them. I had
Yes,
them before the
said you
podcast.
always have a lot
Yeah,
of notes and
yes,
everything, and you don't rely on
yes,
me to
notes.
write intros for the show.
I almost have like scripts for these. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, written
uh,
by who? You?
yes, I write all of these episodes. They're all written. Everything is
Uh,
fake.
okay.
uh,
Don't tell them that.
uh, okay, my first one is there has been a Smith and Jones. This Smith and Jones series that is now currently public on YouTube is a kind of a reboot of
Yeah,
a series that was made in 2012, I think.
yeah,
And I would like to hear something about that, and I'm sure the
yeah,
audience would too.
yeah, for sure. Uh, well, let's start by saying that Stones is one of the very few ideas on Fox 3 Studios that didn't start with me. You know, Smith and Jones was something that Nick Birch came up with originally back in like 2011 or 12, and he I don't remember exactly how it came along, but he was a big fan of like buddy cop shows and films, so he had this idea for like do a kind of a buddy cop thing where it's basically like Dumb and Dumber, and he just well the name Smith and Jones came together because those were the first English language names that he could think of, which isn't that surprising, but yeah, that's basically how the original series was formed. Like Nick wanted to do something, and of course I was in because somebody wanted to film something. I'm always in on that, and he had an idea for an episode, and yeah, we filmed one episode in a day. In I think this is like December 2012, or perhaps it was December 2011, but around that time, then I was about 12 or 13 years old. So yeah, we filmed one episode of that, and I remember the first episode was it was some kind of a bomber kind of thing, but it's actually the only episode that we kind of did not remake for the new series. But in the original series, the pilot episode was about, I think it was an Estonian suicide bomber or something like that, and yeah, that's who Smith and Jones were after, and it was like it was a farce when you think about it, but the idea was really good. The dynamic was already there. I was playing Smith like I am now, and Nick was Jones, and just well, it worked kind of naturally. But yeah, and then like a couple of months later, we made another episode which was later remade into the second episode of this new Smith and Jones series. So basically, White Gold already existed, but of course, we just made a better version of it for the new series. And then we did a third episode, like like a half a year later or so, and that acted as the basis for the season finale of our new series. It was about a presidential candidate and an assassin. It wasn't really similar otherwise, but the basic idea was there. So yeah, we did 3 episodes of that original series, and that's really where all the similarities end. But the character dynamic was there, and yeah, that's how Smith and Jones started.
Okay. Uh,
Jeez,
the
it felt long.
I I think we could talk like to some extent individually about all of the episodes, and at least we don't have to go into extensive detail or anything, but talk about them to some extent. Firstly,
Yeah,
we have the pilot episode Cutting Edge.
yeah,
Um,
cutting edge. Cutting edge is kind of funny because well, like I said, it's a funny story about Smith and Jones as a whole because ever since that 2012 show that we did, the original one with Mia Smith and Nick as Jones, we always wanted to continue it, but once we started doing YouTube, like I wanted to do a reboot of Smith and Jones. So this has been on my mind for like 5 years or so. So, but then we were doing more short films, and kind of the idea of a series kind of I didn't even think that that was a possibility of on our channel. So I was more of thinking that Smith and Jones we could make one short film or make it into a short film series or so. So I wrote what eventually became the pilot episode of the new Smith and Jones series. I wrote Cutting Edge as a pilot, as like a short film script, and it's almost like I think that's back in like 2016 or 17 when I wrote that, so it's pretty old. And we actually tried to film it twice with Nick as Jones, and back in 2017 and I think 2019, because it was around the same time as we filmed End of the Line. We tried to film with Nick, but you know there were always some kind of scheduling problems, and he had to go walk his dog and whatever. So eventually, I just kind of got tired of that, and I just kind of buried the idea of doing Smith and Jones again. But then me and Nick talked about this, and I was kind of being like serious about it, like, well, it just won't work out because you can't make it, and I can't just recast Jones. And then he was like, "Why can you not?" And I'm like, "Well, it's your character, you created him." And he's like, "Well, you can recast him." And then it hit me that Eddie, you would be a perfect Jones. And well, then that's where it started. Like a month later, we were already filming the pilot episode. I think we filmed it in like July of last year,
Mm,
and yeah, that was a fun day of filming for Cutting Edge.
yeah.
Or do
Um.
you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I actually remember you mentioned about the first episode being written like a long time ago. I actually do remember like the first time reading the first episode like many years ago. I'm
Yeah,
I'm not. When did you write White Gold?
last year around.
Okay.
I wrote it like around the same time as we started filming.
Yeah. Okay.
Like by the time we started filming Cutting Edge, I had Cutting Edge and White Gold completely written, and New World Order was there in like bare bones, and Blood Politics. Both parts had like a couple of notes about
Mm,
them, so just kind of wrote as we went on.
yeah. Mm, remember? Yeah. But yeah, I remember like a long time ago reading the Cutting Edge script first, and then I don't even know whether or not back then it was even decided that I would be playing Jones, or even if the recast had like any thought put into it at that point.
No, yeah, like if I've let you read it like around the time you joined Fox 3 Studios, no, I had no idea
Uh, yeah.
about you being Jones. I was still like, well, back then I was when we tried to film it with Nick, I was kind of, and it didn't work out. I just thought that well, Smith and Jones will never see the light of day, and
Mm,
but yeah, then those talks arose with Nick, and you know he gave me the idea kind of to recast you.
yeah. Well. Well, then there's White Gold.
White Gold. If we're like being serious for a moment, like I think White Gold is the best episode.
Mm,
Like, like I'm very pleased with all of them, and I think Smith and Jones is some of my best and funniest writing so far. But White Gold is just it's compact and it's just perfect. And I think if you start ranking for the Foxway Extras channel the Smith and Jones moments, I think Jones dancing to Bee Gees and Smith and Tristan Tenpenny having a gunfight behind traffic signs has to be number one.
mm,
It's an amazing scene, even if I say so myself.
yeah.
And that was a fun day of filming, you know, and it's a very very different side of Thomas Sanford as well.
Mm,
You see him always play like the serious hero or the funny hero, but or the serious villain or like the authority figure. But I I've never seen him play like a cowardly drug dealer. that that was something else.
mm, yeah. Well, New World Order then.
Yeah, that was a complicated shoot. Mostly because, well, first of all, technical issues. We had some audio problems. Like, you remember we were filming the interrogation scene there at the dining table, and then we had filmed half of it, and then we noticed that the audio device was not recording,
Yeah.
and we had to do it all again. Yeah, that was fun.
Mm,
But then also because we we had those henchmen for Connor Black. There were like five of them, and Tim, Tom, Sam, and Voldemort Mauricio, four of them. Yeah, and we had to like film in a way because they were all being played by Alex, so we had to film so that you couldn't really tell that there's actually not four of them present. So yeah, that was it was challenging, and I think that episode could have turned out a little better. Like I got a bit lazy with the editing when there were a lot of technical issues about that episode, but it's still really funny. But it's a little too dark, some of the lighting in some scenes, and but that kind of stuff happens when you can't control everything. Like we were supposed to have night scenes in that, and then it was really bright, so I had to adjust it in post, and
mm,
then I did the best I could. But if this was a Hollywood production, it would be much better. But like visually, but yeah, it's still it's still a really funny episode. It came on surprisingly long, I must say,
mm,
and I think it's it hasn't been said enough, but like the the opening part, which was filmed by Cyrus Rangewood, it's also one of my favorite parts of the series. Well, it's first of all it looks really good, but also it's just a perfect like description of the relationship between Smith and Jones. You know how they
mm.
like Smith's just trying to relax and Jones comes in and eats his whipped cream.
Yeah. Well, then there's plot politics left. Maybe they can be talked about the
Yeah,
episodes in.
yeah. This is funny because originally I was planning on politics being one episode, but then I had an idea for an episode that will probably, well, let's talk about the potential of season two later.
Mm,
But if there is a season two, there's an idea that I want to use there. But I had an idea for the fourth episode that would have been something completely else than Blood Politics Part One, but that kind of didn't work out. We had a little bit of a trouble finding a suitable actor for a part in that
mm,
one, and then it would have featured a lot of locations, and we would have had a lot of issues finding enough time to film it, especially when it was already getting like really dark in the fall. Like we often can only use one day to film stuff like this, so we would have had to like film film parts of the episode like weeks apart or so, and it would have made it a little difficult. Then I noticed that Blood Politics was probably going to be a long episode if it was just one, so I decided that hey, that works as a two-part finale, and we cut it in half. So, but perhaps you'll see that idea for that episode later.
mm. Uh,
Yeah, it was fun, and I wanted something dramatic to happen. Like, well, considering that I don't want to say that Jones is dumb exactly, but I want to say that Smith is like the streetwiser of the two,
mm,
you know, and like when they have the dynamic that they have, it's like it's inevitable that at some point the, let's say, smarter one of the two starts questioning like, why is this guy like this? So that needed to happen, and I wanted it to happen in the first season because now they've like both are completely on terms with each other. Like now, if we have more of Smith and Jones, like they're sure going to argue and sure going to go about that same kind of tension that makes their friendship and partnership work. But yeah, like now they're more on terms with each other, and maybe Smith has come to accept like how Jones acts, and maybe Jones has come to terms about how Smith feels about his actions.
Um,
Yeah,
well, well, I guess we could. I don't have that many topics here. Maybe we could talk about the possibility of a sequel season or the next season in general.
yeah. Well, you you tell me. Do you want to do it? I can't do it
Sure.
without
Oh,
you.
yeah, of course I want to do it.
Yeah, it's definitely a series that has a lot of potential for more episodes. I'm sure that I could write 10 more seasons of it if that's what it comes down to. Like it's been really easy to write, and Smith and Jones. There's such incredible characters that they just kind of write themselves. Like when I write, I write one sentence. Like Jones says, "Hey Smith, look at this," and then it comes naturally how Smith reacts to it. He's like, "Jones, what the hell are you doing now?" And then it just goes on and on with how they react to each other's sentences, and it just gets funnier and funnier as it goes along. And when I'm writing the series, I'm just giggling to myself all the time. And then when I have it all done, I read it and I'm just almost suffocating because I'm laughing at so hard at my own jokes. And yeah, it's something that writes itself, and it's been really easy to write. And I'm looking forward to writing more of it when, if and when we're gonna start working on season two. And but that I do want to say that the 5 episode amount is just perfect. Like, do not expect there to be more than 5 episodes in a season, because that's when there's only 5 and we're filming it like doing a remotely short period of time. That's we can still kind of keep the reins, the or well, let's say the reins in our hands, and just keep the carriage on the road. And if I start writing more, it's just gonna go so off the wall. And although the writing is easy, I must say I need to take a little bit of a break in between writing Smith and Jones episodes, because there is the danger of it starting to sound really similar eventually if I write too much of it at once. Like I've noticed that happening if I've tried to write Smith and Jones episodes too fast, and then I've just gone back to it and changed some stuff, because their well, like I said, their relationship is kind of similar each and every episode. They have an argument about something, and then they argue about police work and whatever, and but their replies are always themed similarly, but I try to keep this dialogue as different as possible every time. So yeah, that's it's gonna be a challenge for season two, but I'm gonna take a long break before I'm gonna start working on that. So don't expect a season two this year, but perhaps next year. It's really a possibility.
Yep. uh, well, as I said, I don't have many topics here. I thought that maybe we could try to think about some, if there were any fun stuff that happened during the shooting of the episodes. For example, the second creator, or well, I guess it could even be
Yeah,
said that the
yeah, that was
creator.
so random. Okay, so you do you want to tell this?
You can talk about it. Your
Okay,
request.
well, we were at our house for to film the season finale, Plot Politics, and randomly the doorbell rings, and a guy I haven't seen in like a year at least shows up at our door and walks in. God damn, it's Nick Birch. Like, what the fuck? Like, how did he know that we were filming Smith and Jones at that very moment? Like, he just completely out of thin air appears conveniently at the one time that we're filming something that has something to do with him. Like, how? It just blew my mind that he just sat there and looked as we filmed that. He actually filmed the scene. I just realized he
Well,
filmed the scene where he filmed where um, Ulysses gets tackled or speared
oh
by
right,
Jones.
yeah, yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
he filmed that, and yeah, that was yeah, but that was a huge surprise. I had no idea he was coming, and I don't know if this was something orchestrated by Alex.
Mm,
Could have been, but
yeah,
yeah, it was still funny as hell that he just appeared just so conveniently when we were filming. Like, yeah, we were filming something that he was originally in because that was a remake of an episode from the original series.
mm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Alex. It was kind of strange how he was trying to hide what we was typing, and I
Yeah,
would
yeah, that's
suspect.
true. Yeah, I didn't think of it back then, but yeah, now it makes perfect Jesus perfect sense.
uh, okay. Any other funny uh
Well, there were a couple of interesting events. Like, I remember when I was playing a victim and I had an axe up my ass and the blood stuck everywhere, and there's that
oh yeah
cut tree, and it looked really
yeah
really creepy. It was like
mm,
really like somebody had been murdered on the tree there,
yeah
and we were just kind of like we were just trying to wipe it off, like so somebody walks past and it's like, okay, somebody's really being hit in the buttocks there with a cutting axe. And
uh
well, when we were filming New World Order, some kids were walking by Alex's window all the time while like Jones was killing people with shotguns. So yeah, this kind of like surprisingly, we had a lot of events here where people were asking about what we're doing. Actually, our neighbors came to ask what we
yeah
were doing when we were filming White Gold, and that was kind of weird because we've been doing the same stuff on our yard for 15 years,
mm,
and they never asked about it. But now, I guess we were kind of filming closer to their house, so
mm.
they were interested to know what they were going to be featured on. But yeah, yeah, no. Yeah, he's a really cool guy. So he was like, "Oh no, no, that's a really nice hobby." Yeah.
uh
No, yeah, and I must say that those have been more frequent recently for some reason.
mm,
I guess it's because we are bigger now, and it's not just they don't just shrug it off as like kids playing around. They're
mm,
like more interested in why are these guys running out with guns.
yeah
But I guess that's the downside of guerrilla filming. But you know, it's a well known fact in the place where we're from that we do that stuff, and there it's all fine and good. But if I was doing that here up north, I'd of course have to like negotiate permits and everything for a long time. But
yeah
yeah, yeah, that's a good side of filming in a small town. Nobody cares.
mm. Oh god hmm
Oh God, well, you gotta tell me about playing Jones. Like when you look at me playing Smith, you see the whole story. Like
mm,
he's playing it all off. Like the jokes are bouncing on Smith. Like the whole dynamic is based on I say something, or well, Smith says something, Jones understands it wrong, and then Smith reacts to it, and then Jones goes crazy.
that's
Like yeah,
that's
that's the basic dynamic. But my part is kind of easy. I just say the not so funny stuff, and then you start getting ridiculous. Like tell me about playing Chosen. Tell me about being recasted into the role, and tell me
mm,
how well you know what did you think about being cast in a part that somebody had played earlier?
Oh, that was three questions right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
but yeah, let's answer the last one first. Like,
Yeah,
what's it being?
I'll firstly answer that one. Firstly, of course, thanks to Nick who allowed me to play. I think he gave, well, yeah, he gave you your his blessing for it, and he
Yeah,
also when he appeared out of thin air during the shooting of the finale, I think he was saying that he was okay, and uh
yeah, he gave his approval for the hat.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It was like, oh, you have the hat, you have more points.
uh yeah, I mean, of course it's kind of like um feels strange trying to replace someone. Well, I know it's been like 9 or 8 years since it was
Yeah,
recorded, for the original episodes. It still
yeah,
was a challenge, but I haven't during the recording of like the first episode. I don't think I had seen any of the episodes. You showed me one episode at like one point, so I kind of
yeah,
just had to do the whole character on how I interpreted it,
yeah.
and
From scratch.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's
Go ahead.
yeah, it's well, it's not exactly James Bond being recast, but
Mm,
it's funny how like when we started filming uh, the first episode of this new Smith and Jones, like, well, I knew instantly that this works, that this is perfect. But of course, it took that first or maybe even the second episode to kind of get used to it because I had gotten accustomed to Nick saying those funny, stupid lines, and, and then it was you saying them. But now, if you think about it, you've played Jones longer than Nick has,
mm,
like a lot longer. Like we did 3 episodes that were like half as long as the ones that we have now. So you played the character for like a half an hour more if
mm,
we count screen time. So now it's like you are Jones. That's
mm.
it. But it started off as being a little challenging to, but yeah, like I said, it just works perfectly.
I don't really know about the acting of Smith and Jones. There's a lot of things that, uh, again, like, uh, some of the actions that Smith just does while, for example, listening to Smith and stuff like that.
You mean Jones?
Y-
Yeah,
no,
Jones when he's
no, Jones when he listens, for example, to Smith or anyone, and when he's kind
yeah.
of bored and well doesn't exactly listen to anyone, kind of all of those things. What he does during that is usually just improvising. There's a lot of improvising on the role, or not a lot,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I love at the like the after right after the intro of Cutting Edge. you know,
mm,
Smith is telling the viewer what has happened, who the victim was, and everything. And in the in the background, Jones is just eating leaves of a spruce.
mm.
It's excellent. He's like just, you know taste testing some trees in the background. Like what?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's just
it's. I wouldn't say it's like too hard of a role, honestly, because well, I was about to say like I just have to try to play myself, but like, what I mean is
well,
that
not exactly.
yeah, what I mean is that it's kind of like you just have to try to be silly, but in like but not too silly. No,
Yeah, yeah. When you think about it, like Jones, well, yeah, like we've called him dumb and well, not dumb, but
mm,
but like when you think about it, it's not really like that. Like he's almost like a person that would actually exist.
mm,
Like okay, he's really silly and like the stuff he says and does seem ridiculous. But there's always some kind of reasoning behind that.
mm,
Like well, nobody could survive eating a kilogram of cocaine.
mm,
But he does, and he had a perfect explanation for it. He had grown up in Chernobyl. Like,
Mm,
like there's always some kind of a reasoning, even if the reasoning is not very sensible.
mm,
But he always has a reasoning for everything. And
mm.
I would like to know why he was taste testing the trees, though. But
Well, I just thought that Jones would do that.
yeah,
I don't really. Uh, I
yeah,
just I just
yeah, I
tried
agree. He
I
would.
just tried to beat Jones and tried to do what he would do, and
Yeah.
I thought that Jones would eat trees
Oh
as a
yeah, yeah.
hobby.
Like all those small details, like they make something click like completely. Like remember in the fourth line where like everything was cool, of course, but the way how Emilio was nodding in that one scene in
Mm,
the fourth line, I think that made the whole film. It's the same way with you as Jones in Smith and Jones when you do those little things like Smith is making a serious talk and Jones is eating a tree in the background, or Smith is making a serious speech and Jones is the wall or something. He's always eating something.
mm. About eating, my favorite scene to film was definitely one where I get got to eat melted ice cream. That was a and I got to eat it like a 4-year-old. That was probably the best part.
Yeah, and yeah, that was something that I wanted to bring up, like that Smith is some kind of a foodaholic,
Mm.
I guess, and he just likes being a home chef. But then Jones comes in and fucks everything up. Yeah, that's a perfect scene, like I said earlier.
That
Yeah,
I
that's
think
where you
that
see the dynamic.
I think that's actually a pretty good way to describe Smith and Jones. Like Smith is trying to do something, and Jones comes and fucks everything up.
Yeah, basically, like he confronts him about in the fourth episode,
Mm.
like trying to do proper police work, and you just ruin everything. But yeah, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. But yeah, it's been a pleasure working with Smith and Jones, working with you as Jones, and working as Smith again. Like that's
Mm.
it's been a while, and of course the character of Smith has evolved a lot as well. Like in the original series, I think I think in the original series Smith was a little dumber as well than he is in the new one. Like, but it works better when there's more contrast
Mm.
between the two characters. Like Smith seriously has his weaknesses as well, but he's really trying to do police work, and sometimes I feel like Jones doesn't remember that they're cops.
Mm.
Like, well, he doesn't seem to care about the briefings too much.
Yeah.
He just kind of expects that Smith will fill him in if something happens. But yeah, it's I'll just keep repeating myself, but it's been really fun. Some of the funniest shoots we've had were definitely Smith and Jones, and of course we always have a lot of fun behind the scenes, but rarely do we have so much fun in front of the camera because we're used to doing so much like serious action and stuff. Like usually the funny stuff happens behind the scenes, between the scenes, but
Mm.
in Smith and Jones we're always just laughing about like how ridiculous they are.
Yeah, it was. I especially remember during like the New World Order. It was really hard to even
Yeah,
film some of the scenes, just
yeah,
because of like
yeah.
it.
Me and
We
you, we were cracking up a
we
lot during the chair
mm,
segment where the,
we
the villain
usually
tells us to sit down and
usually we can like very well like
yeah, we've got good poker faces,
yeah,
but
but during that the third episode was just absolutely like
yeah, it
I
was
don't
really
understand.
difficult. And that when we sat down, that's
And
so
that was definitely the hardest. It took like around probably 20 tries to do.
yeah. I think there was like more than 20 takes of that.
Mm,
Like, and that's saying a lot because usually I like to go with the first take because
mm,
that's the most natural one. Like, I may have or may not have talked about this before, but I prefer the Clint Eastwood method, and
mm.
Yeah, I like to go with the first one if there's nothing wrong with it. So we having to take like 20 to 30 takes of something that tells that there was something wrong a lot. And we eventually, like when we did the scene, we always got a little bit further every time.
Mm.
But we always cracked up by the time Smith tells Jones to turn around in the chair.
Mm.
But yeah,
Well, I mean, I guess we've been going for on for like, well, not an hour, but like 40, maybe even 50 minutes.
yeah.
Well, maybe.
Am I imagining things or do I hear something rattle in the closet?
Hold up, I'll check it.
What was it?
Uh, Smith, Smith and Jones are in the closet.
What? What do you mean
So
Smith and
so
Jones are in the closet?
thank you. Thanks everyone. Tony, do you want to plug anything in?
Uh, Not really. I just want to know what Smith and Jones are doing in the closet.
So we would like to thank you for. Well, I'd like to thank you for being Smith and making this whole thing possible, as well as Nick Burridge for the whole thing. Alex Kaufman, Thomas Sanford, and Nathan Tarver have also been a part of making all of this come together.
And Osiris Rangewood.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
That was a, that was a great scene.
Yes. Oh, and shout out to our dad, who also
Yeah,
was a
yeah. He was the
stuntman.
stunt driver.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for watching the episode, and goodbye.
Bye bye.